Hello, thanks for tuning into this week's episode of What's on My Mind. I'm your host Mary, signing on from Bloomsburg University. Today we're talking about privacy on social media. In the last few weeks, I've watched several videos regarding personal privacy online. Online privacy is obviously important, but how much is Gen Z concerned about it? I thought it was high time we weighed in on this matter. Does Gen Z care about privacy? Do we think our information is secure? And is there a gray area? Meaning, do we care about privacy online in certain situations versus others? Let's hear from my three friends, John, David, and Logan, and gather their perspectives. My first guest of the day is John. Hi, John.
Hi, how are you?
I am really good. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. Today we're going to talk about privacy on social media, and I'm going to ask you a few questions, and feel free to answer them as honestly as you can.
Okay.
So, when would you say you started using social media, and how active are you on it today?
I probably started when I was like 13 or 14, and I use it daily, but not that much. Not like I used to.
How do you feel about your privacy online?
I mean, it's important to have privacy online, but to me, it's not super important because I don't really have anything in my life that I would really care if it got out.
How secure do you think your personal data is online?
Probably not too secure, because I know there's stuff that companies use to get your data and stuff like that, but as far as like super personal stuff, I would say it shouldn't be out there.
In general, do you think privacy is an issue for online users?
Yeah, I think there's some famous people that it's definitely an issue for because like they get their address leaked and stuff like that and have some crazy fans show up to their house or wherever they're at. And that's not right.
Yeah. So next I'm going to give you some scenario-based questions and you can just give me your opinion on them. Do you think that businesses should be able to look you up online and determine if they want to hire you? And do you consider that an invasion of personal privacy?
To an extent, I think like recent stuff they should be able to, but if they go back like 4, 5, 6 years, you could definitely be a different person than when you were then. So I think it gets kind of absurd for them to go back multiple years. How
do you feel about algorithms and metadata tracking? Do you consider that to be an invasion of privacy?
I definitely think so. I think that like companies and stuff shouldn't be allowed to do that.
Interesting. Why do you think that way?
Just because, they listen. Like, I've seen stuff where I've talked about stuff and that shows up on my phone, and I definitely think that that's a little weird, and, they shouldn't be allowed to just listen in whenever they want to.
Yeah, does that make you feel, scared?
I wouldn't say scared, just more uncomfortable than anything, because, nothing's going to happen out of it, but it is just a little weird.
Have you seen any, TikToks or anything on social media regarding the House of Representatives talking about banning TikTok and privacy infringements and stuff like that?
Yeah, I've seen a little bit. I haven't really looked it up too much, but I've seen a couple.
Do you think that it's an important conversation that they're having?
Yeah, I think it is. Just because, you don't know who's listening in on your conversations and who's tracking your data and stuff like that. So I think depending on, the owners of TikTok and who they give in charge and stuff like that, I think it's important to some degree, but not. I don't think we should be focusing our government money on finding out what TikTok's doing.
Yeah, and do you think after talking to me you would do some more research on personal privacy online?
I think a little bit. Like I said, it's not super important to me just because, I don't have too much stuff going on in my life, but definitely a little bit.
Well, that is all I have for you today. Thank you for coming to talk to me. I really appreciate it. I really enjoyed my interview with John. I think that he offers a unique perspective, being that he is on the younger side of Gen Z. He is also a passive user of social media, so he isn't too concerned with his personal data getting out or being used against him, I guess. He is concerned more about metadata and algorithms than my two other interviewees, and he does consider it an invasion of his privacy. All right, looks like it's time for our next interview. Our next interviewee is David. Hi, David. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mary. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing so good. Thanks for coming over and talking with me.
Oh, no worries, no worries.
So I'm talking about social media and privacy. I'm just going to ask you a few questions, and we'll see where it goes from there.
Okay.
When did you start using social media?
When I was a little bit younger. So I'd say probably around 2009, 2010, when I was 12.
Cool. And how active would you say you're on social media today?
Pretty active. Mostly as a viewer, not much of that. I don't post a lot, but It's mostly just to look at the content that's on there.
And how would you say you feel about your privacy online? Would you say you feel secure?
I think it's secure to a certain extent. Obviously, anytime you go on a different site, they're collecting information. But, I mean, it's kind of up to you how much information you let get out.
Yeah, and how important is your privacy online to you?
I used to think it was more important, but I think it's less important now just because of how much information everybody has in general.
Do you think a lot of people have issues with privacy online? And do you think they genuinely care about that?
I think it's more of an issue for older people that don't necessarily know how things work as well on the internet. But I think if you're ingrained in social media enough, you kind of know where the information is getting drawn from, so you have a better understanding.
Yeah, I totally think it might have something to do with age. And I think that Gen Z has always been aware that we're being watched by other people, and we're kind of okay with that. We live our lives in the public eye anyway. So to segue, the next couple of questions I'm going to ask you are scenario-based questions, and you can just let me know how you personally feel about them. Do you think that businesses should be allowed to look you up on social media to determine if they would like to hire you? And does that feel like a personal invasion of privacy?
Yeah, I think if you have stuff that's public to view, then that's on you. If they're doing like psyops where they're like going through different routes to get that information, then maybe that's not cool. But if you have a public profile that anybody can see and they go and view that, then that's on you for having that stuff public.
So there's been a lot of talk about algorithms and metadata tracking. Do you think that's a personal invasion of privacy?
No, I don't think that's an invasion of privacy, as much as they're just giving us what we want. It's clearly, as we've seen, TikTok has one of the best algorithms, and everybody loves the app. So clearly, it's working.
Yeah, I would say it's working pretty well, and I think some people think it's working too well. Have you seen any clips of the House of Representatives talking about banning TikTok for privacy infringement?
Yeah, I've seen. I've saw it on TikTok mostly, but then just through various news media, I've seen some of the hearing.
As a member of Gen Z, do you think that was an important conversation to have, or do you think it was unnecessary or political theater?
I think it would be a good conversation to have in general, with all of social media and its use. But I think the way they went about it, just attacking one specific content platform, is wrong, just because there's no sense in getting rid of one if you're going to allow the others that are doing the same thing.
Totally. Do you think that you would do some more research about privacy policies and personal privacy online after having this conversation with me?
Yeah, I think it's always good to update yourself, especially with all the information that's available, to continually update yourself with new information.
Cool. Thanks for talking with me.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for having me.
So that concludes my interview with David. I really liked the part where he brought up that we should be talking about privacy policies and privacy online in general, and not just targeting one app that does it, because we all know that every social media platform is tracking and is storing our personal data. So if we're going to have a conversation about it, let's talk about everyone. All right, my next guest is Logan, and Logan brings up some cool perspectives on privacy and personal privacy in regards to him running his own business. All right, hi Logan, thank you for coming.
My pleasure.
I'm just gonna jump in. When did you start using social media?
Probably when I was around 15.
How active would you say you are on social media?
My personal account that I have, I don't use a whole lot. I might look at someone else's pages, but my business one, I try to post every other day.
How do you feel about your privacy online?
Once you sign up to use their site, whatever you post is considered free to the public.
Do you think that your personal data is secure online?
I'm not very secure, so that's why I don't use any banking information online. I try to use a credit card if I make a purchase so that I can get my money back if it's stolen.
Yeah, that's super smart. How important would you say that your privacy is to you online?
I'd prefer more than what's available, but I realize there's probably not a whole lot that's out there that's private anymore, so I'm just very careful with what I post.
Do you think privacy is an issue in general for online users?
For a lot of people it is, because I think it's blown out of proportion, because they freak out that other people can see what they're posting, but that's the whole point, is you're only supposed to post what you want to post.
So the next couple of questions I'm going to ask you are more scenario-based, and you can just let me know how you feel about them. The first question is, do you think that businesses should be allowed to look you up online to decide if they want to hire you?
Absolutely. If you're doing something illegal and posting about it online and it disqualifies you from your job that you're trying to get, and you publicly posted it, it's for them to use for their advantage.
Totally get that. My professors always say that your social media is an extension of yourself and an extension of your personal brand, and employers are going to think that way too. How do you feel about algorithms and metadata tracking? Do you think that's a personal invasion of privacy?
If you like certain things, all they're trying to do is combine more information in posts that you might want to see, so therefore you better rate their app. If you're worried about it, stop using it.
A little bit more on algorithms and metadata tracking. Have you ever thought about something or talked about something and then saw an ad for that thing on your social media? And if you have, how did that make you feel?
I see ads all the time for stuff that I Google search. Once I go over onto social media, I know it's just them collecting cookies. If they're generally using my thoughts and voices in my head, I would be concerned, because that's not possible, but they definitely might record conversations you have and pick up keywords and phrases to use for ads.
Would you consider that an invasion of your privacy?
I think somewhat. I know it definitely happens because I have a Google Home Mini, and sometimes when you're talking to yourself or someone else in the room, it responds to you, so it's definitely always listening.
It kind of does feel like someone's always listening to you, but in a way it's helpful because they are giving you what you want. So final question, do you think that you would be more cautious or careful about posting things online or privacy policies online now that you've had this conversation with me?
I think I'm already fairly careful. I only post very few times throughout the year about significant things I want to let friends and family know about. So I don't think I've had any trouble with privacy on social media, unlike some other people that definitely have.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming to talk to me.
No problem. Anytime.
I think what was different about Logan's interview is that he runs his own business, so he had different opinions on whether a business should be able to look at your social media. Obviously, it's very helpful for him to be able to see who he's hiring and see how they're branding themselves online and whether or not he wants to bring that into his workplace. So, to wrap this all up, I think Gen Z is aware of the potential dangers of privacy infringements online. I think we offer up a unique perspective. We've been raised on the internet, unlike the generations before us. We were raised on the phrase, once you post it, it's on the internet forever. So that, in combination with our aptitude for social media, we're obviously going to be a little bit safer and less concerned than our older counterparts who are still navigating social media security. I think we should all be more open to communicating about this problem. And remember, keep educating yourself as technologies keep on changing and developing. I'm Mary, and thanks for tuning in to the What's on My Mind podcast.